Just had some thoughts on TJ Dillashaw's 2-year suspension and some other things. I spoke about these things. The link is below for my podcast I just recently started doing with Ryan Moody, and we go over it at length, our thoughts on TJ Dillashaw. But I thought I wanted to talk about it in a slightly different way. So one thing we didn't really get into that much, and to recap, TJ Dillashaw, everybody knows, suspended 2 years. EPO is what he got caught with. It's a hormone that stimulates red blood production, red blood cell production. So it's for people that have bone marrow disorders, leukemia, anywhere where your body's having trouble producing enough red blood cells. That's what it was originally designed for. It is also what Lance Armstrong used his entire career for doping. A lot of cyclists use it because it helps with endurance. Obviously, more red blood cells, more oxygen helps your endurance. You can't get caught much more red-handed than that because it isn't in supplements. You have to inject it. One thing that is interesting that not a lot of people have talked about is it's also not for cutting weight, meaning it's hard to say he just took it for the Cejudo fight. If this were a diuretic, if this were something where it helped him shred weight, and yeah, of course, more endurance, you can run longer, maybe cut more weight, that's a stretch. EPO helps you for every fight, every time. If this had been a diuretic, if this had been some kind of weight-cutting agent that's banned, his fans could get away with, he just did it to cut weight to make 125 for Cejudo. He doesn't always do this. EPO helps every time for every fight. It doesn't have that specific deniability of, it just helps for the Cejudo fight. It's hard to believe he did EPO for this fight and didn't do it for other fights. Does it hurt his legacy? Of course. You'll never mention TJ Dillashaw ever again without mentioning performance-enhancing drugs. Ever. Especially with this kind of drug that helps every time. You can't say he wasn't on it before. He might not have been. He might have been. Who knows? But that'll always be the suspicion. He'll never get away from it. Does it hurt his legacy? Yes. And this is a legacy guy. And what I mean by that is, Chael Sonnen busted, and it was always his personality that got him over. Fans loved him for things other than where he stands all time at 185 pounds or 205 or whatever. TJ Dillashaw was a legacy guy. In terms of, I think, Dominic Cruz is a top 135 pounder of all time. Number 2 would have been TJ Dillashaw. Not anymore. This is a guy at legacy. He really could have been something special. And a 2-year hit, that's a lot of his prime. Also, 135, generally speaking, lighter weight classes, the shelf life is just shorter. Guys who are heavier tend to last a little longer. The speed, the quickness, the timing that you need to be successful at 135 tends to go early in fighters. Power's the last thing to go, but timing and quickness, athleticism can go a little bit earlier, and you need that at 135. So he's going to have a tough time with this. How are the fans going to react in 2 years? Who knows? We've seen other fighters be forgiven for multiple offenses, slightly different circumstances, whatever. The fact that he hasn't denied it at all. And also, I think coming off a loss, fans tend to, whether they want to or not, tend to be more forgiving of wins. Wins tend to cover stuff up. The fact that he's coming off a loss and then this happened, and he complained a lot about the stoppage. So a lot of fans have referenced the fact that he was complaining a lot while doping. They don't like that. The idea that you didn't take it like a man when you knew you were cheating is, a lot of fans have expressed that as well. So a lot of reasons why it's going to compile his issues, the timing and everything. Also, there are very few coaches who are as closely associated with their fighter as Dwayne Ludwig and TJ Dillashaw. He obviously released a statement, very short on Instagram. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was, I stand behind my guy. He made a mistake. And of course, he who is without sin, let him cast the first stone. He quotes that. It's not a mistake. It's a choice, first off. Secondly, I used to run an MMA and boxing gym in California. And I had a fighter one time, and he wasn't getting ready for a fight. He was just training. And he was an EMT and was working doubles and training a lot. Went to his doctor, and his doctor prescribes him these testosterone pills to help him out. And this is 10 years ago. I don't even know what the deal was. They were just pills. And he came to the gym. He started hitting pads. And 30 seconds in, our boxing coach put down his pads and went, "What are you on?" Looked right at him. Was, "What are you on? What's going on?" "Yesterday you're falling asleep. Today you're ripping the leather off the pads." And he said, yeah, my doctor wrote me these testosterone pills, whatever, I'm all amped up. He's like, okay, go ahead. And they went back to it. The idea that you know your fighter like the back of your hand and you don't know he's doping, whether it's true or not, a lot of fans won't believe it. And it's hard to say that the suspicion doesn't fall on everybody around him. He wasn't working with a different coach every day. He had one general coach, Bang Ludwig. Not that he didn't have other coaches, but it's hard to be that close to somebody and go, I had no idea they were on anything. Also, if you do know, how much do you want to know? You come in and your guy's suddenly ripping the leather off the pads. He's destroying the heavy bag. He's doing whatever. Do you ask him? Do you confront him? Do you want to know? You probably throw up your hands and know, but don't want to know. You don't ask him because you don't want the responsibility of knowing. And if you do know, is it your responsibility to say something? Is it your responsibility to talk to him? He's a grown man. If he wants to dope, that's his problem. What has happened in MMA is we've had very few instances, I can't think of any, really, where it's spilled over into the team. Where a fighter who juiced and got caught said, my coach gave it to me. My whole team does it. It's been very self-contained so far in MMA, which is different in other sports because the Festina affair in cycling caught a bunch of cyclists. Lance Armstrong, his whole team got busted. There was a program where they were helping each other. MMA is enough of an individual sport that it's pretty much fallen on the guys themselves. There hasn't been a stain on a team. Nobody's outed other people. The fact that TJ Dillashaw left Alpha Male on bad terms, has a rivalry with them, and might be motivated to sing on everybody he knows who doped. I mean, even with the John Jones thing, where he supplied testimony that we don't know what it was, in relation to his own doping, we've yet to see it break out and infect a team, where somebody sings on an entire team or on a coach, where there's a program, it's been isolated. It does bring up the question, how close can you be with a fighter? Every day we're working together, we're brothers, we're family, and I have no clue. He's on EPO, which significantly improves performance. Now, TJ Dillashaw is not one of the guys, like a Ricky Hatton, for people who remember him, who would get fat and then get back in shape. So if he's always in pretty good shape, maybe you don't notice when he gets in great shape that there's a sudden uptick. Maybe he's just always pretty good, and you can write off when he makes a big leap to, well, he's in camp, he's really nailing it, maybe he's in great shape. It's possible. It's more possible that they know and just don't say anything and just don't want to know. You don't ask the details. All you know is the guy's crippling the heavy bag. How he does it is not my problem. So it does call into question the entire structure when you're that close with a coach. So it's going to be interesting, the fallout in terms of teams, because we haven't seen that yet. We haven't seen a team kind of go down with a fighter. It's been individual enough. So we'll have to see how it goes, but it's definitely going to be a concern. A couple more things. Ben Askren taking on Jordan Burroughs. Grapple at the Garden, I think it's called. This got announced today, I believe. I don't think he beats Jordan Burroughs in his prime, let alone 11 years after his last international tournament, which is the Olympics 2008. Ben Askren, great college wrestler, one of the greatest of all time, 4-time finalist, 2-time champion, only lost to 2 guys. Never a great international wrestler. That's not a knock on Ben. I'm a huge fan of Ben, especially as a wrestler. I thought he was phenomenal. But Pan Americans, he medaled. Never medaled in the Olympics. Never medaled at the world level. Graduate 2007, Olympics were in 2008. He just didn't have a lot of experience. He didn't have years and years of freestyle. The guy who beat him, Ivan Fandora, didn't medal. It's just one of those things where Jordan Burroughs is, A, right now in his physical prime. And number 2, he is not only in his physical prime, he's also a world-level guy who is getting medals everywhere. Ben did not in freestyle. And also, Jordan Burroughs has the kind of style that is hell for a scrambler and a funk guy because he just blast double legs you. He lifts you off the ground and plants you. He doesn't get in a lot of those scrambles that Ben Askren was able to score a lot of points against other guys. If you look at 2000 Olympics, Saitiev versus Brandon Slay. Brandon Slay won that match, huge upset, because he just blast double-legged him, much like Jordan Burroughs does, and Saitiev couldn't scramble and score points off of him. He didn't give him that opportunity. So I don't think it's going to work out well for Ben Askren. Who cares? I mean, the worst that happens is you get pinned or you get tech falled. Who cares? It's like jiu-jitsu. The guy's better than you just tap. Sucks, but it doesn't cost you anything. So it's going to be entertaining, maybe. I don't think Ben wins. I think it's pretty one-sided. I don't think he beats him 10 years ago, let alone now. So, but it's been announced. It's going to be fun. Ben's name, obviously, is going to draw a lot of eyes to it, which I think is fantastic. But he's got an uphill battle, to say the least, against Jordan Burroughs. So those are my thoughts on what's happening right now with TJ Dillashaw and wrestling. The link to my podcast is below. Check it out. We talk about it at length. And tonight, I'm on Sirius XM Fight Nation. So check that out. If you have Sirius XM, we'll be talking about it and a bunch of other stuff. 8 to 6. Later on, guys.